What if I told you Nagi, Bullock's lazy genius, barely makes it into the silver tier in EA FC25? Forget the 90 rated cracked cards and the boosted stats. We're talking real base ratings based on actual football logic. So how good would these players really be if they are dropped into the football world tomorrow? Would anyone be a gold card? Who's underrated? Who's mid? And who's just overhyped? In this video, I created the most realistic FC25 cards for every major block player, scaled to real world standards, backed by numbers, and stripped of anime bias. Now you're probably wondering, how do we even rate these block characters in a football sim realistically? It turns out block gives us one real world stat, the Neo Egoist League salaries. So I converted those into actual football wages and scaled each player to realistic FC25 ratings. And yes, I used real players with similar salaries as benchmarks. For example, Kaiser earns about the same as Take Kubo, and Kubo's rating in FC25 is an 81 overall. Nagi, on the other hand, makes about what you'd expect from a below average EPL championship forward, so he's around 65 rated. That gives us a range of 65 to 81 rated. From there, I rated every major player based on their salary and just converted it. And with that, I got the overall rating of all the remaining block players with some extras, and all that's left is to go over their attributes, play styles, and roles, stuff like that. So we'll go through each of those players, starting from the back with the goalkeepers. First up, we've got a fan favorite, Gagamaru. In the Neo Egoist League, Gagamaru is ranked 12th overall with a salary of 50 million yen, which translates to around a 69 rated card in FC25. Now for his actual attributes, the first thing you'll notice is his reflexes, which is easily his standout stat. I mean, we've all seen this dude make freakish saves with every part of his body, so of course his FC card reflects that. His next most surprising stat is actually his speed. Even though it's only a 66, that's actually insanely high for a goalkeeper in FC25. It really shows how Gagamaru, even as a goalie, is still among the fastest players in Bullock. As for his weak foot, we don't have any proof of him being left-footed or ambidextrous, so I went with the standard 3-star. And for skill moves, well, Gagamaru is a goalkeeper now, so we're just gonna give him 2 stars there, because I don't think he's doing any rainbow flicks or dragbacks in the box. Now for his playstyles, I give him far reach for obvious reasons. Dude's arms are like bungee jumping every match. And his second playstyle is far throw, as we did see him do a deep pass with his arm in the Ubers game. And finally, his role is going to be sweeper keeper plus, because we've seen Gagamaru come aggressively off his line in the U20 match. Alright, moving on to the other goalkeeper, it's Fukaku, valued at 28 million yen and ranked 20th in the NEL. And if we're keeping it real, Fukaku kinda sucks. So his FC25 card reflects that. His overall rating is sitting at 66 and his stats are pretty mid across the board, with his best stat being his positioning. And honestly, this just comes down to him being a keeper longer than Gagamaru, not because he did anything clutch or anything like that. For his weak foot and skill moves, I give him 2 stars each because we've seen nothing to suggest that he deserves more, and I highly doubt we'll see anything that makes him deserve more in the future. And now for his playstyles, I'm gonna give him no playstyles because I don't think Fukaku deserves it, and we haven't really seen him do anything, so I couldn't even give him one if I wanted to. And lastly, his role is just going to be the basic goalkeeper plus, no sleeper actions, no flashy clears. He's just, well, there as the goalkeeper. Moving away from the goalkeepers and into the defense, the first defender to go over is Kiora with a salary of 26 million and ranked 22. Kiora is only played as a left back in the NEL, so that's the position I went with. Kiora will be 66 rated as his stats are pretty low across the board. Not surprising for a player with that kind of overall, but his dribbling gets the spotlight thanks to his absolute wild performance in episode Nagi. Now let's talk skill moves. I'm giving him 4-star skill moves, and yes, I know that might seem generous, but come on, the dude be hitting breakdancing spins mid-dribble, which might not be conventional, but it does still give him an upgrade in the skill moves department. As for his weak foot, we don't really have too much info on it, so I'm gonna give him the default 3 stars. As for his playstyles, I'm giving him 3 in total. The first is press proven, because Kiora has the ability to shrug off physical pressure like it's nothing, despite being a small player. The next playstyle is trickster, which obviously comes from his unique breakdance dribbling technique, and the third is gonna be low driven, for his low driven ground shots. And finally, for his role plus, since he's playing as a left back, it's going to be the wingback plus role, as Kiora is obviously more of an offensive orientated fullback rather than a defensive one. Next up is Kurna, who's ranked 18th in the NEL with a salary of 25 million yen. That gives him a 67 overall rating, and I've said his primary position as a right back since that's the position he played throughout the NEL. Kurna's stats are relatively low overall, but his standout attribute are his pace and passing, which makes perfect sense when you consider how good his short passing and quick link-up play were and his Planet Hotline connection with Isagi. For his skill moves and weak foot, we don't really have too much concrete info, so I've gone with standard 3 stars for both. For his playstyle, Kurna gets Tiki Taka because of his smooth short passing game, and his other playstyle will be Quick Step since he's known for his quick darting, speed, and change of direction. Lastly, for his role, I'm going to give him Attacking Wingback Plus because while he may be listed as a defender, he plays more attackingly and doesn't really do much defensively. So this is the only role plus that fits him. Next up is Hiyori, ranked 16th in the NEL with a salary of 39 million yen. While I don't think right back is his best position, it is where he played most during the NEL, so that's his primary position here. I've also given him the secondary position as a right wing since he played that during the U20 match. Hiyori comes in with a 68 overall rating. His stats mostly just reflect how elite of a passer he is, as that is his standout stat with some decent dribbling. For skill moves, I went with 3 stars as Hiyori's dribbling technique is more smooth rather than flashy. For his weak foot, I give him 4 stars as he has shown the ability to use his right foot occasionally. Now for his playstyles, Hiyori gets 4 in total. The first is long ball, thanks to his elite long range passing. The second is ping passes due to his hard driven passing style. The next is technical for his smooth, non-flashy dribbling style. And lastly, Travella for his last playstyle because of his outside foot passing ability. And finally, for Hiyori's roles, in the right back position, he'll get the false back plus position as he does tend to play as an inverted fullback. And for right wing, he'll get the wide playmaker plus, which fits how much he contributes in the final third as a right wing, passing rather than shooting. Next up, we've got our first center back, Ryu, ranked 13th in the NEL with a salary of 45 million yen. Ryu gets a 69 overall and his stats reflect exactly what you'd expect from that rating. His standouts are his defending and physical, which fits his whole playstyle, which is built around his height and aerial dominance. Since he is a defender, you won't see much technical flair from him, so I give him 2-star skill moves. And I'm also giving him a 3-star weak foot, which is pretty standard for his role. For playstyles, he gets 2. The first will be aerial, which is kind of obvious since he's a massive aerial threat, and the second will be block, thanks to his huge block in the U20 match, which is arguably very, very impactful. And finally, for his role, Ryu gets stopper plus, which fits a more aggressive center back that steps up to win the ball early. On to our next defender, Aiku, ranked 10th in the NEL with a salary of 60 million. Aiku becomes the first block player to break past the 70 plus rating range, coming in at a 70 overall. His standout stats are his defending and physicality, which matches his dominant physical presence and all-around defensive IQ. Like Ryu, he's a center back, so his skill moves and weak foot are going to stay low at 2 stars and 3 stars. Nothing out of the ordinary. For playstyles, Aiku gets 3. The first one will be block, for him constantly making latch stitch stops. The second will be intercept, thanks to his meta vision and ability to cut off passing lanes. And lastly, aerial, as Aiku as well as Ryu is an aerial threat. Lastly, for Aiku's role, he gets defender plus. That's the closest thing you can get to the sweeper playstyle in EA FC, so that's what we're going to give to Aiku. The final defender to go over is Lorenzo, who is ranked 2nd among all non-Bulak players with a value of 280 million yen. I've listed Lorenzo as a center back, but I've also given him the CDM position since he occasionally swaps roles with Nico during the Ubers game. Lorenzo is rated 79 overall and his stats reflect that, with some pretty solid numbers across the board. His standout stats are his dribbling and defending, which matches his unique playing style, one that blends tight ball control and defensive awareness. Because of his dribbling ability, I've given Lorenzo 4-star skill moves and 3-star weak foot. For playstyles, Lorenzo gets 3. The first one will be Trickster for his unique and unorthodox dribbling style. The second will be Technical because Lorenzo often does get by opponents without using skill moves. And lastly will be Block, thanks to his moment where he blocked the Kaiser impact. For his roles, Lorenzo gets 2, the first one being ball playing center back plus when he's listed as a center back, and the second will be deep lying playmaker plus when he's listed in the midfield position as a center defensive midfielder. And now we move on to our midfielders, starting off with the lazy genius himself, Nagi. Surprisingly, Nagi hasn't played as a striker at all since the first selection. He's been used as a cam, so that's what I've set as his primary position, with right wing and striker as secondaries. Nagi's overall rating is just 65, which is low, but remember his salary wasn't even enough to get him in the top 23, so his rating is going to reflect that. His stats are pretty low across the board, even if he's got some of the flashiest plays out of all the characters in the entire series. For skill moves, I'm giving him 4 stars because even though he doesn't spam roulettes or elasticals, the stuff he pulls off after his first touch make him deserving of the 4-star skill moves. For weak foot, however, Nagi doesn't seem to have any problems when it comes to shooting with his left foot, so I'm gonna give him 4 stars in that section. For Nagi's playstyles, he'll get 2 in total. The first one is obviously gonna be first touch, because that's Nagi's whole original weapon. Second playstyle will be Trickster, based off the crazy tricks Nagi does off of his first touch. Finally, for Nagi's role, he's going to get the Shadow Striker Plus in the cam position, and in the striker position, he's going to get the Target Man Plus. Next up is Raichi, who's ranked 21st with a value of 27 million yen. Raichi gets a relatively low overall rating of 66. While his stats aren't terrible, his defending and physicality are definitely carrying the rest of the card. For his skill moves, I give him 2-star because let's be honest, we've never seen Raichi really dribble, let alone do skill moves. And for weak foot, I'm gonna give him the default 3 stars. When it comes to playstyles, Raichi only gets 1, and that'll be Bruiser, reflecting his heavy and physical defensive presence on the field. And finally, for his role, I've given him Holding Plus, which is the go-to category for full-on defensive midfielders who live to break up plays. Our next player is ranked 15th overall with a value of 40 million yen, and it's Nico. I've listed Nico's primary position as a center defensive midfielder and his secondary position as a center back. He gets an overall rating of 68, with his standout stats being his passing and defending, while his physical stats are on the lower side. For both skill moves and weak foot, I went with a default 3 stars for both since we haven't seen much to suggest otherwise. And when it comes to playstyle, Nico will only get 1, but it's a good one. Anticipate is going to be the playstyle he gets based on his incredibly high tackle success rate during the Ubers match. And for roles, Nico will get a couple. As a CDM, he will get the center half plus role, reflecting his deep positioning and reading of the game. He will also get the holding plus role for his great defensive capabilities in that spot as well. As a center back, Nico will just get the ball playing plus role because Nico's vision and passing ability make him more offensive than your typical center back. Moving on to our next player, it's Sendo, ranked 17th in the NAL with a salary of 37 million yen. Sendo's overall rating is 68, and his stats are fairly generic across the board. One standout stat he has is his passing, reflecting a short-range link-up play, especially when paired with another striker. For skill moves and weak foot, he's just going to get the standard 3-star 3-star. As for playstyles, none. So far in the series, there hasn't been anything that really sets Sendo apart in terms of unique techniques or standout traits, so I can't really give him a playstyle. However, for his role, he will get Shadow Striker Plus in the cam spot. He tends to operate behind a main striker, makes runs into space, and offering off-ball support for that striker, fitting the Shadow Striker role. Moving on, we've got Kaiser, who's ranked 11th in the NEL with a salary of 55 million yen. Kaiser receives an overall rating of 70, and his stats are pretty well balanced across the board. For his skill moves, I've opted to give Kaiser 4-star skill moves, as we have seen him do the occasional step over or other skill moves like that. As for weak foot, on the other hand, he's going to get the default 3 stars. Now for playstyles, Kaiser will get 2. First up is intercept, because most of Kaiser's defensive actions come from his intercepting ability, from cutting off passing lanes. The second is press proven, which honestly fits him perfectly. His ball control and calmness under pressure are elite. This is one of the people I'd want to give a playstyle plus, but unfortunately his overall isn't high enough to get that quality. Finally, for Kaiser's role, he gets deep lying playmaker plus in the CDM position, fitting for someone who sits deeper and initiate plays through vision and positioning. Next up is Reo, ranked 7th in the NEL with a salary of 78 million yen. Reo earns a 73 overall rating, and just like you'd expect, his stats are super balanced, but of course his passing stands out as the best, no question there. For skill moves and weak foot, I bumped it up to 4 stars each. Even though we don't have direct proof, Reo's copying ability makes it clear he's capable of using either foot effectively and some decently advanced skill moves. Now let's talk playstyles. Reo gets 3 in total. The first one will be incisive pass for those clean, slicing passing through balls he's known for. Next will be long ball, because we've seen him hit some crazy impressive over the top passes. And lastly, he'll get the intercept playstyle, because Rayo doesn't just stand around on defense, he actually steps up and wins the ball by cutting off passing lanes. And for his roles, he'll get two. First one will be playmaker plus, which reflects his ability to control the tempo and create chances. And the other one will be box to box plus, because let's be real, Rayo can contribute everywhere on the pitch, both offense, defense, link up play, anything. Perfectly fit for a box to box. Next up, we've got a non-blue lock player, Charles, who is ranked 4th among the outsiders with a value of 110 million yen. Charles is rated 74 overall, which puts him just under the gold card threshold. And honestly, it feels pretty accurate. His stats are fairly well balanced overall, but it's clear his passing is a standout by far. For skill moves and weak foot, I've gone with the default 3 stars for both because we haven't seen anything crazy in those areas. Now for playstyles, Char will get 4 in total. First one being long ball for his deep pinpoint passes. Next up will be ping pass for his more driven like passes. Third one will be incisive pass because of his through balls that he can thread through tight spaces. And lastly, his final playstyle will be flare, and this one's because of the moment where he had his Rabona cross over to Rin that led to an assist. So it's fair to say that Charles has a little bit of flair in his playstyle. And for roles, he will only get one, and it's pretty obvious what it will be. He'll get the playmaker plus role, which is the perfect fit for someone who's a creative engine like Charles is. On to our last midfielder and another non-blue lock player, we have Ness, who's ranked 3rd overall with a salary of 130 million yen. That lands Ness as a solid 75 overall card, officially making him a gold card. His stats match the rating too, fairly well rounded with a heavy emphasis on passing and dribbling, which is exactly what you'd expect from someone playing next to Kaiser. For both skill moves and weak foot, I've gone with the default 3 stars, as there's not enough evidence in the manga to say otherwise. As for playstyles, Ness gets a total of 4. The first one will be technical because of his unorthodox, super flexible ankle and dribbling style that allows him to get past defenders without using skill moves. Next up is long ball because he's got great range and vision when it comes to long passes. The third will be Tiki Taka for his quick one-touch combos with Kaiser and peak short passing rhythm. And lastly, incisive pass for his ability to slot through balls and cut defenses open. Lastly, for his role, Ness will get what you expect, which is the playmaker plus role in the center attacking midfield spot. Now that the midfielders are done, we're moving on to the wingers, starting off with the lowest ranked of them all, Nanase, who placed 23rd with a salary of 25 million yen. His overall rating is set to 65 and his prime position is left wing. His stats are pretty low overall, which makes sense. His passing is his highest stat, and even that's nothing to write about. When it comes to skill moves, I went with 2 stars since we never really see Nanase try to do anything too crazy, and he's often portrayed as one of the weaker characters in Blue Lock. But for his weak foot, Nanase gets the rare 5-star weak foot because he's ambidextrous. This is legit the one standout trait he's got and deserves to be reflected on his card. As for playstyles, Nanase gets none, as there's generally no playstyles that could fit for him. But for his role, he'll get at least one, which will be as a wide playmaker in the left wing position. Next up, we've got Zentetsu, ranked 19th in the NEL with a salary of 33 million yen. His prime position is set to right wing, but I also gave him right back and right mid as secondaries. Zentetsu gets a 67 overall, which is decent for someone who's pretty much all speed and not much else. His stats are pretty average, except for one, which is obviously pace, because this dude is blistering fast. For skill moves and weak foot, I'm keeping it neutral with 3 stars each, since we haven't seen much from him, but he's not a complete one-dimensional player. Now when it comes to playstyle, Zentetsu gets 2. The first is quick step, which highlights his ridiculous acceleration, and the second pairs up quite nicely with quick step, and it's rapid to represent his straight line speed with the ball. And for roles, Zentetsu will get 2. The first one is winger plus for his right wing spot, and the second is attacking wingback plus for the right back spot. Let's talk about Yukimiya. He's ranked 14th in the NAL with a salary of 42 million yen, and that earns him a 68 rated card in FC25. But don't let that number fool you, because Yukimiya's stats are actually quite decent, with his standouts being his pace and his dribbling, which is way above average compared to the block players and even decently compared to regular FC25 cards. When it comes to skill moves, Yukimiya earns a well-deserved 4-star. He doesn't get the full 5-star because most of his success comes from tight ball control and technical dribbling, not flashy flicks looks or tricks. For weak foot, we haven't seen enough to make a confident call, so we'll go for the standard 3-star. For playstyles, Yukimiya will get 2, the first one being technical, which is obvious as Yukimiya is a top tier dribbler, especially without skill moves. And the second will be quick step, which is a nice compliment as Yukimiya's dribbling technique does rely on his acceleration and speed. Lastly, for his role, Yukimiya fits perfectly as an inside forward plus. He's not just hugging the touchline, but rather cutting in, taking on defenders, and ripping shots. On to our next winger, the sneaky assassin himself, Ultia, who's ranked 9th in the NEL with a salary of 63 million yen. His overall is a respectable 71, with his standout stat definitely being his pace, which makes sense, highlighting his lethal off-ball movement and overall just general quick speed. The rest of his stats are a bit more average, as Ultia isn't really too much of a flashy player and more of a one-trick pony. For skill moves and weak foot, he gets the 3-star combo, nothing too wild, but solid enough to get the job done. Now for playstyles, Ultia only gets 1, and it's quick step. This badge highlights his explosive first step and freakish ability to ghost into space before defenders even realize he's gone. And finally, his role is an easy pick, as it'll also be inside forward plus, as Ultia isn't your traditional winger. Instead, he's looking to cut inside, primarily without the ball, and cut into open space, as this guy lives to disappear and reappear in goal scoring positions. Our final winger is Chigiri, who's ranked 6th in the NEL with a salary of 90 million yen. I made his primary position left wing since that's what he played during the NEL, but I'm also giving him the right wing and right back as secondary options. Chigiri gets a solid 73 overall, and obviously his pace is off the charts. Chigiri will be rocking the default 3-star skill moves and 3-star weak foot, not because he's mid or anything, but just because we haven't seen enough to confidently rate him higher than that. Now for playstyles, Chigiri will get 4 in total. First up, he'll get rapid because of his elite speed with the ball. Next up is quick step, showcasing his good acceleration on and off the ball. The third will be finesse shot, perfectly reflecting his signature 44 Panther snipe. And finally will be whipped pass, which nods to the time when he's playing as a right wing or right back where he used to deliver deadly crosses. As for Chigiri's roles, he'll have the inside forward plus role on the left wing, the winger plus role on the right wing, and lastly the attacking wingback plus role when he appears as a right back. Next up, let's kick off our striker section with Kunigami. Now yes, I know he ended the NEL playing as a CDM, but let's be honest, Kunigami spent most of his time during the NEL playing as a striker, so I've set that to his prime position with CDM as a secondary. Kunigami finished the NEL ranked 8th with a salary of 66 million yen, giving him a realistic overall rating of 71. Stat-wise, his pace and physicality stand out the most, which is no surprise considering that Kunigami is probably one of the most athletic players in all of Blue Lock. For skill moves, I give him 4 stars, as he's pulled off a few clean step overs and other basic skill moves here and there. And for weak foot, he's one of the rare players with 0 drop off on his weaker foot, so he's getting the full 5-star weak foot. Now let's talk play styles, and he gets 3. The first one will be aerial, where his header assist to Isagi, and overall just aerial presence defending Shido. The second will be bruiser because of his physical presence defensively. And lastly, of course, will be power shot because it's Kunigami and it's what he's known for. For roles, Kunigami will get a few. The first one being target forward plus, second one being advanced forward plus, and lastly he'll get holding plus for his CDM position. Next up is a top tier dribbler, and it's Bachira. Ranked 5th in the NEL with a salary of 120 million yen, Bachira earns a realistic rating of 74. Let's be real, Bachira's stats don't look like your typical silver card because his dribbling is so high. And to be fair, it is well deserved as Bachira's dribbling is just that high level. For skill moves, there's no debate, Bachira gets the full 5 stars because of his straight up flair and crazy skill moves he's able to pull off. For weak foot though, we haven't seen much, so he gets the default 3 stars. Playstyles, Bachira will get 2, and these two playstyles kind of overlap with each other. The playstyles I'm referring to is Trickster and Flair. Bachira gets this because of his crazy dribbling combinations and Flair-like playstyle. The skill moves Bachira is able to pull off exceeds honestly what your typical 5-star would do. Therefore, he gets the Trickster badge and Flair on top of it. And finally, for his role, he's getting the false 9+ because while he is a striker, Bachira often drops deep to link up play and roam around, not standing up top like a typical striker would. Alright, now it's time for the king himself, Baro. He's ranked 4th in the NEL with a salary of 150 million yen, which locks him in as a 75 rated card. Baro's stats are pretty well rounded except for his defending. And I mean, let's be real, Baro doesn't really defend that much. His standout stats is definitely his physicality and shooting, as Baro is a lethal finisher with a body built to bully defenders. For skill moves, I'm giving him 4 stars because even though he didn't show off much in the NEL, back in the earlier selections, it is clearly shown that Baro is capable of pulling out his fair share of skill moves. moves. For weak foot, it's going to stay at 3 stars since there's not enough evidence to prove anything better. Now let's talk playstyles. The first one will be power shot, which represents Baro's long range striking ability. The second will be technical for his close range and kind of underrated dribbling without flashy skills. And lastly will be press proven because you're not bodying Baro off the ball. His physique allows him to keep the ball even under heavy physical pressure. And finally, for his role, Baro will get advanced forward plus. Next up is Shido, ranked 3rd in the NEL with a salary of 160 million. Shido clocks in as a 76 rated card and his offensive stats are pretty solid across the board with the exception of his dribbling, which is kind of low. For Shido's skill moves, I'm giving him 2 stars because we don't really see Shido dribble a lot, let alone do skill moves. For weak foot, however, I am going to be giving him 5 stars even though he doesn't explicitly get the ambidextrous trait in Blue Lock. We all know that Shido is capable of using both feet very well, similar to how Nagi does it. For playstyles, he's got 3. The first is acrobat because let's be honest, nobody else in Blue Lock is scoring acrobatic goals like Shido is. The second will be quick step for his violent high speed off ball movement, and lastly will be power header for Shido's ability to score headers even from far out. And lastly, for Shido's role, he's obviously going to be getting the poacher plus role. Now it's time for the Blue Lock protagonist himself, Isagi, tied for 1st in the NEL with a massive salary of 240 million yen. Isagi played a few different positions throughout the Neo Egoist League, but in the end he was able to prove himself as a striker. So that'll be his primary position, with Cam as a secondary option along with right wing. His overall rating is set at 78 with his standout stats being his shooting and passing. For skill moves, I give him 3 stars. As aside from what we've seen in the first episode of Blue Lock, Isagi doesn't really pull off skill moves. For weak foot, I'm giving him 4 stars for his lefty shot that he has in his arsenal. While it's not as clean as his right foot, it is definitely a step above your typical player, so he gets the 4 stars. Now for playstyles, Isagi will get 4 in total. The first one will be Tiki Taka, which shows his elite one-touch passing and chemistry with teammates like Kurina and Hiyori. The second will be intercept, for Isagi's ability to intercept the ball through passing lanes. The third playstyle will actually surprise a lot of people because it's acrobatic. A lot of people don't actually know, but volleys actually count towards the acrobatic playstyle, and pretty much all of Isagi's goals come from volleys as his weapon is direct shooting. Things like Isagi's 2-gun volley are stuff that no typical player could do, so he gets the acrobatic trait. And finally, the last playstyle Isagi gets is relentless, because Isagi, despite playing as an attacker, has one of the highest work rates even defensively. For his roles, Isagi will get the false 9 plus role for his striker position. In the cam position, he'll get the shadow striker plus role, and for right wing, I'm not going to give him a role plus. Now let's talk about the other number 1 in Blue Lock, Ren Itoshi. He's tied with Isagi at the top of the NEL rankings with a 240 million salary as well. That earns him a overall rating of 78. Ren's stats are elite across the board, especially in his shooting and dribbling, backed up with solid pace and physicality. For skill moves in weak foot, Ren gets 4 stars each. He's not pulling off flashy skills every game, but his tight control and 2-footed ability are well above average. Now for playstyles, Ren will also get 4 in total. The first one will be finesse, which perfectly represents his high curved shots. The second will be Travella, because let's not forget about the outside foot goal he scored during the U20 match. The third playstyle will be quick step for his quick acceleration off and on the ball. And lastly, his final playstyle will be press proven, which is a nod to Ren's destroyer mode where he thrives under physical pressure instead of just surviving it. For his role, Ren will only get 1, which is the standard advanced forward plus. He's direct, efficient, and always hunting for goals, so this role suits him. And lastly, we have Kaiser, ranked number 1 out of all the non-Blue Lock players with a massive salary of 400 million yen. That earns him the highest overall rating in this entire video with 81 overall. Kaiser's stats are sharp across the board, with his shooting being a standout stat, as expected for someone who has the Kaiser impact weapon. For skill moves and weak foot, we haven't seen too much, so he's gonna get the standard 3 stars for both. As for playstyles, he gets 4 in total, including a rare playstyle plus. The playstyle plus, no surprise, will be power shot plus. It's a direct reference to his Kaiser impact, which is one of the most lethal shots in all of Blue Lock. The second playstyle will be dead ball for his absolute missile of a free kick. Even though it did get saved by Loki, it did show he has a world-class technique there. The third playstyle will be Tiki Taka for Kaiser's crisp, short passing combos with Ness and other teammates. And lastly, his final playstyle will be acrobatic for his bicycle kick he scored during the Ubers game. Finally, for Kaiser's roles, he will get 2. The first one will be False 9 Plus, since he does tend to drop back and then participate in link-up play, and the second will be Advanced Forward Plus for when he doesn't want to drop back and stays up like a typical striker. And with that, every Blue Lock player's realistic EA FC25 card has been revealed, from the underrated grinders to the elite talents like Ren, Isagi, and Kaiser. But we're not done yet, because there's one group of players I haven't touched yet: the Masters, Noah, Loki, Snuffy, and the others. And what about the international monsters like Luna and Blake? Their EAFC cards are a different breed entirely. So if you want me to make a follow-up video breaking down the most overpowered Blue Lock cards imaginable, which would be the Masters and the World 5, let me know in the comments. Drop a like and make sure you're subbed so you don't miss it.